What if the steak you trusted all your life wasn't steak at all? In a country where 1 in 3 adults over 60 battles hypertension, and where food costs are climbing faster than Social Security checks, the last thing you should have to question is the meat on your plate. But hidden beneath the grill marks and sizzling sound effects is a shocking truth. What's being sold as sirloin or steak tips in some of America's biggest chains isn't even real steak. It's frozen scrap meat, glued together, soaked in sodium, and branded to fool your eyes, while slowly poisoning your trust. How many times have you cut into something thinking it was real, only to walk away with regret, bloating, or worse? And how many of these chains have been quietly switching sources, using foreign feedlots, or skipping safety labels? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. Today, we expose the horrifying truth about steak at 7 of America's most popular restaurants. And once you see what's really hitting your plate, you might never order steak again. Number 1. Applebee's. A steak should be simple: a cut of beef, some salt, a hot pan done. No chemistry degree required, no glossary of additives, no gamble with your gut. Yet here we are, in a country where something as basic as steak, something your grandfather could identify, blindfolded by smell alone, is now a corporate illusion. So here's the question that ought to hit like a slap with a greasy spatula. If the steak on your plate can't even promise to be steak, what else have they dressed up and sold as truth? Applebee's once sold itself as the friendly corner grill where you didn't need to squint at the bill or Google every ingredient. It was a blue-collar haven, a place where a hard week ended with a hot plate and maybe a cold beer. But behind that comforting veneer of booths and laminated menus hides a betrayal cooked to perfection. At several Applebee's locations, investigations uncovered the use of restructured meat, a Frankenstein assembly of beef scraps glued together with transglutaminase, better known in the industry with a wink and a shudder as meat glue. Imagine someone sweeping up leftovers off a butcher's floor, binding them with an enzyme, and calling it filet mignon. That's not cooking, that's performance art, and not the good kind. Countries like the United Kingdom and Australia have banned this practice due to bacterial contamination risks, especially when the glue-sealed centers remain undercooked. But in the US, it's dinner and a show. The smoke doesn't just come from the grill, it's in the flavor. Literally, a leaked 2020 operations manual revealed that Applebee's enhances its steaks using chemical injections to simulate smokiness and char. These mixtures often include monosodium glutamate, autolyzed yeast extract, and synthetic beef flavoring an artificial stew served with a grin and a side of lies. It's like slapping barbecue cologne on a rubber tire and serving it on a sizzling plate. It might smell familiar, but your stomach knows better. And don't be fooled by the USDA choice label. Some of these cuts are shipped frozen from suppliers in Brazil and Mexico, where food regulations often read more like loose suggestions. Food Safety News reported that Applebee's received meat from sources tied to the Brazilian expired meat scandal of 2017, where meat past its shelf life was chemically altered to appear fresh. At that point, calling it aged beef feels like a sick joke. Then there's the people cooking it. A 2021 audit of Michigan locations revealed disturbing lapses in food safety raw meat stored next to fresh produce, staff using the same gloves for prepping steak and tossing salads, and no thermometer training. So even if the steak started fake, it might end up dangerous. It's not a kitchen, it's a cross-contamination circus. Older diners across online forums, people treating themselves after long days or decades of labor, have shared horror stories. Some were served steaks cold in the middle. Others described the taste as wet newspaper grilled in motor oil. One reviewer said the portion was so thin I could read the menu through it. You didn't order steak, you ordered disappointment dressed in grill marks. And while Applebee's serves this chemically charmed mystery meat for nearly $20 a plate, you could walk into Aldi and pick up a real US raised ribeye for less than half the price. A hot skillet, some garlic butter, and you've got a meal worthy of a Sunday supper, not a chemistry lab. Even a humble stuffed bell pepper or grilled portobello has more honesty and soul than the patchwork deception served at Applebee's. In the end, what they're serving isn't food, it's theater. A scripted, overproduced illusion designed to trick your senses and tax your trust. And if they can do that to steak, just wait till you see what the next chain is hiding. Number 2, Sizzler. You might still hear the sizzle in your memory, the clang of metal tongs, the smell of garlic butter, the soft-serve machine humming in the corner like a lullaby for the hungry. Sizzler wasn't just a place to eat, it was a symbol of abundance, a rare moment where the paycheck stretched far enough to include both steak and a trip to the salad bar. But what happens when the sizzle is just sound effects? When the steak is no more real than the plastic grapes in the salad display? The deeper you dig into Sizzler, the louder the silence of the truth becomes. What they're selling as steak has about as much in common with real beef as a TV dinner has with a Sunday roast. Let's start with the cut, or rather, the lack of it. In 2021, a supplier leak exposed that multiple Sizzler locations across California, Utah, and Nevada had quietly swapped out real sirloin for restructured patties, scraps of beef molded into shape using sodium phosphates, connective tissue, and glue agents. It's like meat confetti pressed into a hockey puck. To call it steak is an insult to cows everywhere. One former line cook put it bluntly, they looked like steaks, but they came in frozen packs of 10, and we pressed fake grill lines on them with a metal stamp. That's not grilling, that's fast food cosplay. And if that wasn't enough to make you lose your appetite, let's talk about what's inside. A 2018 audit in Los Angeles County revealed that over 40% of Sizzler steaks tested contained sodium levels triple the USDA recommendations due to aggressive chemical brining and artificial flavor injections. Some included carrageenan, a seaweed-derived thickener typically used in ice cream, now repurposed to lock moisture into aging meat. It's the culinary equivalent of Botox for beef plump on the outside, questionable underneath, but no amount of seasoning can hide a dirty kitchen. That same report flagged multiple Sizzler outlets for cross-contamination between raw beef and unwashed salad bar ingredients, along with coolers running at unsafe temperatures. Think about that the next time you see a glistening steak and a wilted Caesar side by side. It's not just underwhelming, it's unsafe. And then came the bankruptcy. In 2020, Sizzler restructured not their meat, but their finances. Cost-cutting led to supplier switches, bringing in cheap feedlot beef from Paraguay and Chile. These suppliers aren't held to US antibiotic tracking, and many use growth hormones outlawed in Europe. What's on your plate might be beef in name only bred and crowded, unsanitary conditions, pumped with medicine, and tossed on the grill without traceability. If beef had a passport, this one would be red flagged at customs. The chaos doesn't end there. Understaffed kitchens, rushed line cooks, and malfunctioning vents mean your steak's doneness is anyone's guess. Reports from diners over 60, those who grew up knowing what a real steak should taste like, describe meals that arrived half frozen or overcooked into oblivion. One woman from Portland said, "It was so dry, I dipped it in ketchup and still couldn't finish." Another joked their steak had the same texture as a leather glove left on a dashboard. The sad truth, Sizzler is no longer selling steak. It's selling memories dressed in microwave clothing. What used to be a place of honest value has morphed into a costume party of beef imposters. But if it's beef you're after, there's still hope. Chuck Eye Steak, nicknamed the poor man's ribeye, is available at stores like Smart & Final or Winco for a fraction of the price. And when seared in a cast iron skillet with butter and rosemary, it tastes like it came from a cowboy's backyard fire pit. Or skip the charade altogether and roast cauliflower steaks with smoked paprika and garlic, no deception. Just real flavor. And if you still want to dine out, Black Angus Steakhouse, once Sizzler's rival, still serves USDA certified cuts grilled to order. No glue, no gimmicks. Sizzler once filled plates. Now, it fills expectations with air. And if you're tired of chewing on illusions, it might be time to leave before they serve the next act. Number 3, Golden Corral. There's something oddly hypnotic about a buffet. That slow glide of the tray, the shine of sneeze guards, the silent promise that no hunger, no matter how deep, will leave unchallenged. Golden Corral has long been the crowned king of this American temple of overindulgence, where steak sits beside cotton candy, and mashed potatoes share a table with tacos and rainbow jello. But underneath the clatter of plates and the hum of heat lamps lies a truth that doesn't sizzle. It curdles. Because what if that steak, the one grilled to order while you watched, wasn't fresh at all? What if it had already been cooked, cooled, and left in a bin beside the back door, waiting to be rewarmed and dressed up for show? Back in 2013, the illusion shattered when a Golden Corral employee in Florida filmed raw ribs and steaks being stored next to a dumpster behind the restaurant. Why to hide them from health inspectors? These trays of meat were reportedly left out in the blazing summer heat for hours, though corporate scrambled to issue a statement saying the food was thrown away. The internet never forgets, and what it remembered was simple. Even the steak didn't seem safe, but even when it's not literally parked beside the trash, Golden Corral's steak offering has taken a nosedive straight into the bargain basement of meat quality. In a 2021 blind taste test conducted by Consumer Affairs, Golden Corral's steak ranked last out of 14 national chains. Testers described it as rubbery, mystery meat, and even like chewing a sponge soaked in gravy. The cuts were so thin, some were parboiled ahead of time just to survive a few seconds on the grill. What you thought was sizzling just steam. The trouble begins long before it hits your plate. Golden Corral's meat arrives pre-marinated, vacuum-sealed in sodium phosphate brine meant to keep it moist, not flavorful. That same marinade can spike sodium levels far beyond safe limits, especially dangerous for older adults with blood pressure concerns. One USDA report from 2020 cited a major supplier for several Golden Corral franchises for processing beef in facilities contaminated with fecal residue and standing water. That's not steak that's a health code hazard disguised as dinner. And buffet service only magnifies the risk. A 2022 CDC study revealed that buffet-style restaurants, including Golden Corral, experience foodborne outbreaks at a rate 35% higher than traditional restaurants. When the same tongs flip both raw chicken and half-cooked steak, you're not just crossing lines, you're crossing contamination. Factor in staff who are stretched thin and trained just enough to survive a shift. And suddenly, that meat under the heat lamp feels less like a dinner and more like a dare. This is especially dangerous for older folks. One veteran in Mississippi ended up in the ER with food poisoning after eating steak held too long on the buffet. Tests later showed the meat was undercooked and had been sitting for over an hour, lukewarm and crawling with bacteria. Yet many Golden Corral locations still market these steaks as made to order, as if slapping a cold slab on a griddle for 60 seconds could undo an hour of decay. Then there's the sourcing, because even before it gets to your plate, this beef has baggage. Golden Corral's supplier disclosures from 2019 included feedlots in Texas and Nebraska flagged by animal welfare groups for cruelty and antibiotic overuse. These are industrial meat mills where cattle live knee-deep in filth, pumped with drugs just to survive long enough for slaughter. If help yourself to happiness is their motto, someone forgot to tell the cows, but you don't need to wade through a sea of sneeze guards to get good steak. Food Lion's in-house USDA choice strip steaks, often under $7 a pound, offer better marbling, real flavor, and a side of peace of mind. Roast one with rosemary and garlic, and it'll taste like something cooked with care, not mass-produced for the masses. Or skip beef entirely grilled eggplant brushed with hickory barbecue sauce, delivers rich flavor without the factory-farmed baggage. And if eating out is your treat, Firebird's wood-fired grill still cooks steaks over live flame, using domestic meat with a name behind it, not shrink-wrapped mystery from the discount cooler. Golden Corral doesn't offer steak, it offers an impersonation, warmed under bulbs and hidden behind smiles. If that's what abundance tastes like, maybe it's time to chase something simpler, smaller, and finally, honest. Number 4, Denny's. There's something oddly comforting about a neon-lit diner glowing at midnight. The promise of a hot cup of coffee, a booth to rest your bones, and maybe, if your appetite's talking louder than your common sense, a steak dinner under fluorescent lights. Denny's has made itself the roadside therapist of America, open all night, always listening, and ready with eggs, pancakes, or a slab of beef. But when it comes to steak, that promise comes with a price, and it's not just the $14 on your bill. It's your health, your trust, and maybe even your digestive system. Let's peel back the menu and look at what's really hitting those sizzling platters. In most Denny's locations, what they call sirloin or country fried steak is nothing more than mechanically tenderized, frozen beef. That means the meat is stabbed hundreds of times with metal blades to break it down like tenderizing a tire with a nail gun. The problem, every puncture sends bacteria like E. coli and Listeria deep into the tissue, where a casual sear on the grill can't reach. The USDA has required since 2016 that such meat be labeled and cooked to well done. Denny's not only skips the label, but often skips the temperature check. And this isn't fear-mongering, it's documented. A 2019 report by the Centers for Science and the Public Interest ranked Denny's among the 5 worst chains for consumer complaints about undercooked or unsafe beef. These weren't picky eaters, they were real diners reporting real sickness, including vomiting, diarrhea, and hospital stays. Elderly customers, many already managing health concerns, are especially vulnerable. The steak isn't just questionable. In some cases, it's outright dangerous, but the deception runs deeper than bacteria. Denny's wants you to believe you're getting a slice of Americana steak and eggs, the cowboy's breakfast. What you're really getting cheap imported beef from Argentina and New Zealand. where growth hormones banned in much of Europe are used freely. A 2020 procurement memo leaked to the press revealed that Denny's purchasing priority wasn't quality, but cost per pound, leading to older meat, chemically marinated to mask age and odor, shipped frozen across oceans before being thawed and thrown on your plate. That's not a meal, it's a chemistry project with a marketing team. And then comes the cooking. Multiple ex-employees from Denny's in Texas, Ohio, and Arizona revealed in 2021 that their steaks were microwaved inside plastic pouches straight from the freezer, then thrown on a hot griddle for 30 seconds to fake that grilled look. Some were left out unrefrigerated for over an hour before serving. One former line cook summed it up: "If you order steak here, it's going to be confused, wet, and sad." The complaints from longtime customers paint the same grim picture. On review sites and forums, older diners describe steaks that taste like metal, look like shoe leather, and arrive lukewarm with a side of soggy hash browns. One retiree wrote, "I bit into it and thought, is this beef or is this belt? That's not nostalgia, that's culinary betrayal." And the ethics Denny's hasn't exactly won Employee of the Year. In 2014, a class action lawsuit accused several franchises of wage theft and food safety violations, including managers telling staff to ignore expired meat if it didn't smell bad. But meat doesn't have to stink to hurt you, especially when it's already been pierced, frozen, marinated, and microwaved into submission. So why settle for a steak that's been stabbed, injected, and disguised like it's on the run from the law? There's more flavor and safety in a skirt steak from Trader Joe's thin, honest, and quick to cook with just a splash of garlic and olive oil. Or skip the cow altogether and try grilled tofu with a steakhouse rub. It doesn't pretend to be something it's not. And if you need that diner atmosphere, Perkins still cuts some of their steaks by hand and sources meat from US suppliers without turning it into a lab experiment. Denny's isn't serving steak, it's serving the ghost of a steak, revived by microwaves and masked in nostalgia. And if you're trusting that charm, you might be taking more than just syrup back home. Number 5. IHOP. IHOP sells comfort by the plate. It's the smell of syrup before sunrise, the clatter of ceramic mugs, and the quiet comfort of a corner booth where coffee is poured without asking. Generations have gathered under its blue roof grandparents, working folks, late-night shift crews all chasing a moment of calm wrapped in pancakes and nostalgia. But somewhere between the whipped cream and the whipped butter lies a silent intruder. A greasy gatecrasher in your breakfast spread. The steak. Let's cut to the gristle. What IHOP calls sirloin steak and eggs or steak tips is about as close to actual steak as powdered milk is to cream. In 2022, a leaked supplier manual surfaced on a food service forum, exposing that those beloved steak tips aren't grilled to order, they're vacuum sealed, pre-cooked, and soaked in sodium nitrate marinade before ever reaching the griddle. That's the same preservative used in processed meats, designed to preserve shelf life and mask spoilage. The result, meat that tastes more like science than supper, like biting into a memory of beef from 10 days ago, doused in chemical aftershave. But it doesn't stop at the marinade. Between 2019 and 2022, more than a dozen IHOP locations across Los Angeles County were cited in health inspections for storing raw beef at dangerously high temperatures. One particularly alarming incident in San Bernardino revealed leaking meat bags stored above pancake batter containers, cross-contamination so reckless it borders on sabotage. Imagine reaching for your blueberry stack and unknowingly dragging it through a trail of beef juice. And even when the meat isn't leaking, it's still lying. Tests conducted by the consumer watchdog group Truth in Labeling found IHOP sirloin to be nothing more than low-grade beef scraps, reassembled using meat glue and tenderized with mechanical blades. That method known to increase E. coli risk by up to 500% if undercooked isn't mentioned anywhere on the menu. And yet, IHOP continues to serve these restructured steaks medium rare in breakfast combos, as if the danger wasn't sizzling right beneath the surface. Older patrons have begun sounding the alarm. On Facebook groups and review sites, complaints pile up like leftover hash browns. One diner in Kansas described their steak as a chewy brown hockey puck. Another in Ohio said it tasted like it took a bath in soy sauce and reheated gravy. Many report stomach issues afterward, likely linked to the MSG-based flavor enhancers IHOP uses to bring out the beef taste a trick that also brings on headaches, heart palpitations, and nausea for anyone with sensitivity. Then there's the sourcing. In a 2020 corporate meeting, IHOP quietly disclosed a shift to international meat vendors in Brazil and India. Sure, it saved money, but it also meant bringing in beef from feedlots where antibiotic tracking is a joke, and animal rights are treated like an optional topping. These are the same suppliers flagged by watchdogs for cruel slaughter methods and rampant drug use in livestock conditions that breed antibiotic-resistant bacteria and place public health at long-term risk. And unlike other chains, IHOP doesn't disclose any of this to customers. You'd have better luck getting their syrup recipe than finding out where your steak came from. Let's not forget the kitchen. IHOP's flat-top griddles were built to flip pancakes, not to safely sear proteins. Former employees in Arizona and Illinois posted videos showing pre-cooked steaks reheated next to pancakes, hash browns, and syrup, using the same spatula. That's not just poor technique, it's a masterclass in cross-contamination. Your eggs and your steak might have just shared a bath in the same beef-laced grease puddle. Still craving steak for breakfast? You've got better options. Grab USDA choice beef cubes from Publix and make a skillet at home sautéed in butter, paired with scrambled eggs, and served hot from your own stovetop. No brine, no mystery. Or try a lentil spinach hash with garlic and cumin. It may not bleed, but at least it won't lie. And if dining out is your treat, Cracker Barrel, despite its homespun kitsch, still works with US verified suppliers and offers customers a clear path to sourcing info, something IHOP dances around like it's hiding a secret sauce. IHOP's pancakes still rise, but their steak sinks. Beneath the preservatives, the enzyme binders, and the international sourcing scandal lies a menu item that should come with a warning label, not a side of toast. And once you know the truth, it's hard to call it breakfast anymore. Number 6. TGI Fridays. TGI Fridays once felt like a celebration, even if it was just a Tuesday. But buried beneath the Jack Daniel's glaze and neon signs is a steak that deserves a warning label, not applause. Despite claims of center-cut sirloin, many Fridays locations use pre-frozen beef from mass suppliers in Mexico and China. These cuts are injected with sodium phosphate, caramel coloring, and potassium lactate to fake moisture and color more chemistry than cooking. They arrive sealed and boil in bags, reheated by steam or microwave, then quickly branded on a grill for appearance. Former employees admit, "We weren't cooking, we were reheating. The flavor manufactured." Fridays is notorious for applying synthetic grill flavor after the steak is cooked, sometimes mixed with margarine or glaze. One common additive, propylene glycol, yes. The same chemical used in antifreeze, safe in tiny doses, but still not dinner material. Behind the scenes, it gets worse. A 2019 Bloomberg report linked their meat suppliers to Brazilian feedlots under investigation for antibiotic misuse and environmental violations. Some slaughterhouses were flagged for dumping waste into local rivers. Health inspections haven't been kind either. Nearly 20% of southern locations failed their first 2022 health checks, including one Tennessee store caught storing raw steaks above uncovered desserts. Online reviews echo the reality: steak that's cold, soggy, or thin enough to vanish. As one retired diner put it, "It tasted like regret smothered in gravy." Fridays sells nostalgia but serves leftovers. Number 7. Chili's. Chili's wants you to think you're biting into bold Texas flavor, but what you're really chewing on is a carefully staged illusion wearing grill marks like stage makeup. Behind the boisterous music and iron skillets is a steak operation so pre-packaged and pre-scripted, it feels more like a frozen food aisle than a backyard cookout. Their USDA choice. Hand-trimmed sirloin, according to a 2021 supply chain leak. Most Chili's locations rely on frozen, pre-marinated cuts shipped in from massive plants in Brazil and Uruguay. These aren't butcher shop cuts, they're sodium-drenched, vacuum-sealed slabs soaked in chemical brine built to mask low quality. One 6-ounce serving was found to contain over 100 milligrams of sodium, nearly half a day's limit. Worse yet, former employees confirm the cooking process is nearly flame-free. Steaks are pre-cooked off-site, chilled, then reheated on programmable grills. No grill master, no open flame, one manager wrote. Just timers and sizzle plates. Even those photogenic grill lines, either fake or factory stamped. Sanitation questionable. A 2022 Georgia Health report found raw meat stored beside uncovered salad toppings, and steak tongs used across proteins without cleaning. It's not just deception, it's contamination. All that for a $20 sirloin. Better get grass-fed sirloin at Lidl for under $7, pan-sear it with cracked pepper, and plate it with baked sweet potato. Or go meat-free with stuffed portobello mushrooms, rich, smoky, honest. And if you're eating out, Logan's Roadhouse still uses real flame and real meat. Chili's isn't grilling steaks, they're grilling expectations and hoping you won't look too closely. They called it steak, they served it with sizzle, but behind every plate was a system built on shortcuts, chemicals, and corporate deception. And while the grill lines looked real, the truth behind them was anything but. The next time you see a $20 steak glowing under restaurant lights, ask yourself, what are you really being fed? Because knowledge isn't just power, it's protection. Share this video, stay alert, and remember, not all meat is created equal, and not all trust deserves to be served.
Thanks a lot for sticking with us to the very end. If you found this video useful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss any daily uploads. And now, go ahead and explore some of our top recommended videos popping up on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next one.